Last time we were talking about the slope-intercept form of a line. We said that the slope-intercept form looks like this. Y is equal to mx plus b, where m is the slope and 0, comma b is the y-intercept. So we take the y-coordinate of the y-intercept and put it right here. We did an example. We said suppose the slope of a line is -1/12 and the y-intercept is 0, -8. What's the equation of the line? And we put it in slope-intercept form. So we put -1/12 in for m and -8 for b. We did another example. We said find the slope-intercept form of a line passing through this point, 2, -5, and has a slope of 4/3. And how we solved this was we put the line in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form, remember, was y minus y1 is mx minus x1. The slope was 4/3, so we put that right here. And then we put the 2 in for the x1 spot, and we put the -5 in for the y1 spot. Then, to make this into slope-intercept form, we solve for y. So we distributed the 4/3 to everything, and we got y plus 5 is 4/3 x minus 8/3. And then we moved the 5 to the other side. So we said y is equal to 4/3 x minus 8/3, subtract 5. And then we combined these two pieces right here. And we ended up with this answer. So that's one way to find the slope-intercept form of this line. I'm going to show you a second way, and you can choose whichever way you like. Here, what we did was we used the point slope form and then we solved for y. I'm going to do something similar, but it involves the point slope form. And I'm going to keep our answer that we found so that we can make sure we get the right answer. So you can choose whichever way you like when you want to solve this problem for finding the slope-intercept form of a line. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write this in, I guess we can do this in red, is I'm going to first move this over here. Remember, this is what we want to get. And I'm going to actually write the slope-intercept form of the line, which is y is equal to mx plus b. And we're going to pretend like we haven't found this. Okay? So, using this form, we know what the slope is. It's 4/3. So we have y is equal to 4/3 x plus b. And now we're going to use this point here. This point, I'm going to plug in 2 for x and -5 for y and solve for b. Once I solve for b, then I can write the slope-intercept form of the line. So -5 is y. This is equal to 4/3 times 2 plus b. Then I get -5 is equal to, well, this is 2/1, which makes this 8/3 plus b. And then I subtract 8/3 from both sides, so I get -5 minus 8/3 is equal to b. And then I just combine like terms. So this is -15/3 minus 8/3, that's b, which makes b equal to -23/3. And so now, here was the slope-intercept form. We can just plug in for b this -23/3. So y is equal to 4/3 x minus 23/3. That's our solution, which is exactly what we got using the point slope form. So the difference here is, instead of using point slope form, I went with the original slope-intercept form. I plugged in my slope for m, and then I found b, and then I just wrote the equation of the line like this. And how I found b was I plugged in the point that I was given. We're going to do another example here. This is a problem we saw, I think it was in the last video or maybe the one before that, but it was find the equation of the line through the point 3,5 with a slope of -7/2. And we found this already. You can look back in your notes. The point slope form of this line is given right here. Remember, just plug in 5 and negative, subtract 3 here, and then put the slope here. That's the point slope form. I want to now find the slope-intercept form. That's my goal. So what is the slope-intercept form? Again, there's two ways to do this. You can just take what we found earlier and solve for y. So I'm going to do that. So we get y minus 5 is negative 7 over 2x. What I'm doing is I'm distributing this negative 7 over 2. And then this is a negative times a negative is a positive. This becomes 21 over 2. And now we move the 5 to the other side. So we get y is equal to negative 7 over 2x plus 21 over 2 plus 5. But let's make that 5 over 1 because we need to add these two together. So we get y is equal to negative 7 over 2x plus 21 over 2. I'm going to make this 10 over 2. So we have the same denominator, and now I can add these together. So y is equal to negative 7 over 2x plus 31 over 2. And that is the slope-intercept form. So depending on what your homework says, it might ask you for the point slope form or the slope-intercept form or just the equation of the line. And either one of these would be fine if it was just the equation. But if you want slope-intercept form, you should write it like this. Okay? Now again, just so we understand that there's another way to do this, I'm going to erase all of this, move this up, and let's try to solve this problem just using the slope-intercept form of a line. So the slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. We want to find the equation of the line, and it's going through the point 3, 5, and it has a slope of negative 7 over 2. So what we need to do is we need to plug in m into this line, so y is equal to negative 7 over 2x plus b. And then we plug in 3 for x and plug in 5 for y. So we get 5 is equal to negative 7 over 2 times 3 over 1. 3 over 1 is the same thing as 3 plus b. Solve for b. So we get 5 is equal to negative 21 over 2 plus b. Then we move this 21 over 2 to the other side. So we get 5 plus 21 over 2 is b. Combine like terms, you'll get that b is equal to 31 over 2, which is exactly what we got before. So we see that y is equal to negative 7 over 2x plus 31 over 2. So we get the same answer. So it really depends on what you like to do, how you want to solve for the slope-intercept form. I want to look at one more problem. This is something we did earlier, so again, check your notes if you want to go through all of it. I gave you 2 points, and I wanted to find the equation of the line that passed through those 2 points. What we did was we used the point slope form. We just chose one of the points, it didn't matter which one, and the one we happened to choose is this one, 1, 1. So I plugged that in, and then we found the slope by using the slope formula, which was m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and we ended up with negative 4. As you can see right here, this is the m. Now let's put this line into slope-intercept form. So to find the slope-intercept form, I'm only going to do this one way, and that's using this point slope form here. And of course you can do it the other way that I showed you with using the actual y is equal to mx plus b. All I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute this negative 4 and solve for y. So we have y minus 1 is negative 4x plus 4 by distributing this negative 4. And then I add 1 to both sides, so y is equal to negative 4x plus 5, and now we have the slope-intercept form. Okay, let's move on. Now we've talked a lot about putting lines into slope-intercept form and point slope form. Now I'm actually going to give you slope-intercept form, and I want to graph it. I could also give you point slope-intercept form, but all you would have to do is solve for y, and you would be able to graph it using slope-intercept form. Okay, so let's do this. We have the line y is equal to 3 over 2x plus 1. I want to graph this. And I also want to find the x and y intercepts. Now, slope-intercept form tells us a couple of things. We know that the slope, m, is equal to 3 over 2. We're also given a point. We're given the y-intercept. We know that the y-intercept is 0, 1. Because remember 0, b, we put the b here. So that's the y-intercept, and that's the point that I'm going to use. So let's put a dot at 0, 1. And now we know the slope, which is up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2. And I've got 2 points, and now I just need to draw a line through these 2 points. So let's zoom in and draw a line through them. And of course I can make more points. I'm just going to sketch this line. So down 2, 3, over 2, it's going to go through this point here. So that's good. And now we know what the line looks like. Now we also want to find the x and y intercepts. We already have the y-intercept. That's just from the slope-intercept form. So we've done this. Let's find the x-intercept. Now looking at this graph, remember that the x-intercept is where we cross the x-axis. And from my sketch, if I zoom in some, it kind of looks like the x-intercept is somewhere between 0 and 1. So maybe like a half, so 1/2 comma 0. But this is a sketch, and it's not completely accurate. I mean, it gives me what the line looks like. At least I know some of the points it goes through, and I know what it looks like, but the issue is it might not be exactly going through 1/2. It depends on how I drew this, but we're going to find it, and we're going to make sure we know exactly what the x-intercept is. So remember, all we have to do is use the definition of an x-intercept. To find the x-intercept, we need to plug in y is equal to 0 into the equation. And the equation is y is equal to 3/2 x plus 1. So I just plug in 0 here, and I get 0 is equal to 3/2 x plus 1, and we solve for x. So I'm going to move the 1 to the other side, and I get -1 is 3/2 x. And to get rid of this 3/2, we multiply everything by 2. So we get -2 is equal to 3x, and then we divide everything by 3. So -2 over 3 is equal to x, and that tells me the x-coordinate of the x-intercept. So the x-intercept is -2 over 3, comma 0. But let's look at this. Now definitely we thought that it was going to be between 0 and -1. This is -1. And my sketch looks like it is between 0 and -1. But to be very accurate, it should be going through -2/3. Okay, let's look at another problem. Let's graph this line, y is equal to -4x minus 5, and also find the x and y intercepts. Maybe you should pause the video and try to graph the line first, and then when you're done, check and see if you get the same thing I get. Alright, let's write down some important information. First off, the slope is -4. Which is also -4 over 1. The y-intercept is 0, -5, this number right here. So let's put a point at 0, -5, and then let's draw this line because we need to find the second point, and we can go down 4 and to the right 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1. We only need 2 points. We could also go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1. And let me zoom in, see if I can make a pretty straight line. So something, do my best here, like this. It should be a straight line through these points. Something like that. And you can see that this line is going down. If we look from the left to the right, this line is going down, which should go down because the slope is negative. We also see that the x-intercept, it should be, it looks like to me, somewhere between -1 and 2, -2. Let's check that. All we have to do is plug in 0 for y into this equation, and that will give us the x-intercept. So let's zoom out a little bit. Now to find the x-intercept, we need to plug in 0 into y. So if I plug in 0, I get -4x minus 5. Move the 5 over, we get 5 is equal to -4x. And then if we solve for x, we get -5 over 4, which is -1 1/4, which is, like I said, between -1 and -2. Great. We're going to talk about one more form of a line, and it's called the general form. Now the general form uses either point slope form or slope intercept form. It doesn't matter which one you start with, but what it's going to look like is a times x plus b times y is equal to c, where a and b are not both 0. So we get the x and the y on one side, and we put the number on the other side. And we just, a could be 0 or b could be 0, but not both. Usually neither is 0, but they could be. And if one of them is 0, then you're either going to have a horizontal line or a vertical line. Okay, because then notice what would happen if a is 0. This would go away, and you'd have b times y is c, and if you solve for y, you'd have y is equal to a number, which is a horizontal line. If you had that b was equal to 0, this would go away, and you'd have a times x is equal to c. So if you solve for c, you'd have x is equal to a number, which is a vertical line. But if they're both not 0, then you have a line, just a regular line that's not horizontal or vertical. So let's try to put a couple of lines into general form. Let's find the general form of the line that goes through the point 2, 7 and has this slope, 3/4. Since I'm given a random point, it's not the y-intercept, it's just another point, and I'm given the slope. The best form of a line to use is the point slope form. So that's the one I'm going with, point slope form, which is y minus y1 is mx minus x1. So I'm just going to plug in this point and the slope. So I get y minus 7 is 3/4 x minus 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute everything. So y minus 7 is 3/4 x minus, well, this is 3/4 times 2, right? I'm going to distribute this 3/4. And remember, 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1. And this 2 goes into 4, so we have y minus 7 is 3/4 x minus 3 over 2. I'm going to move the 7 over here, so I get y is equal to 3/4 x minus 3 halves plus 7, okay? So this is what I've done. I've moved over here. You see I added 7 to both sides. Now 7 is the same thing as 7 over 1. I'm doing this so I can add these two fractions together. So the next thing I have is y is equal to 3/4 x minus 3 halves. I'm going to put this 7, I'm going to make the 7 over 1 as 14 over 2. Then we get y is equal to 3/4 x plus 11 over 2. So this is the slope-intercept form of the line. Now, to put this in general form, this a and this b and this c, they're all real numbers, okay? So maybe we should put that over here. A, b, and c are real numbers. Just a and b can't both be 0. So what I need to do is I need to get the x and the y on the same side and then just the number by itself. So look back at this line right here. Let's move this 3/4 x to the other side. So we have negative 3/4 x plus y is equal to 11 over 2. Now we have this line in general form. This is the a is equal to negative 3/4. The b is equal to 1, which is the coefficient in front of this y, and if there's no number there, is 1. And then the c is equal to 11 over 2. Again, I'm going to scroll back up so we can see the general form. ax plus by is c. Write that down. You can see here's the ax plus by is equal to c. This is in the general form. Now something that people like to do is they like for the numbers in front of the x and the y not to have fractions, okay? So let's get rid of this fraction, this 4. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply every single thing by 4 to get rid of it. If I do that, I get negative 3x plus 4y is equal to, well this is, I'm going to do this in 2 steps here. 4 over 11, I'm taking 4 and multiplying every single thing by 4. This will become 2, and I'll have negative 3x plus 4y is 22. So that's just another way to write it. Either way is fine, this one or this one. It's just that usually people don't like fractions for a or b. So you might see it this way as well. So if they ask you to get rid of the fractions to make these numbers a and b integers on your homework, that's all you have to do. If you have, let's say you had a 4 here and this was like a half or something, you just multiply everything by 4 to get rid of the fractions. If it was like a 3, then you would need to multiply by 12 to get rid of the 4 and the 3. Let's try another problem. Let's find the general form of the line that goes through these 2 points, 2, 0, and 0, negative 3. First off, notice something about these points. They're intercepts. This is a x-intercept, and this is a y-intercept. Because we have the y-intercept, and we have 2 points, we can find the slope, and then we should use the slope-intercept form of the line. Now you can use the point-slope form, it doesn't matter, but the slope-intercept form is going to be the easiest one, because to do this general form, usually we put it in slope-intercept form anyway, and one of these points is a y-intercept. So let's find the slope first of the line through these 2 points. So m is the change in y over the change in x. Choose one of these points as x1, y1, and then the other one as x2, y2. I'm going to let this one be y1 and this one be y2. So I'll get negative 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 2. Again, it matters the order. If you don't put it in the right order, you're going to get a wrong sign in the end. So if we start with this one and then subtract this one, then for the bottom, the denominator, we need to start here and subtract this one. So I'm left with negative 3 over negative 2, which is the same thing as 3 over 2. So in other words, this line has a positive slope. So it's going to look something like this. Okay? Now, I'm going to use slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b, because I have the y-intercept here, 0b. So now the line is y is equal to 3 divided by 2x for the slope. We found that. Oops, we found it. And then plus b, which happens to be -3. So this is the slope-intercept form, but remember the directions say find the general form. So what I need to do is I need to move this x to the other side. So I'm just going to subtract 3/2, and then this is in general form. Again, if you want to get rid of the fractions, because generally we don't like fractions here, we're just going to multiply everything by 2, and we'll get -3x plus 2y is equal to -6. And that's the same line, just without a fraction in the front. All right, let's move on. The reason for the general form is that it's pretty easy to use for graphing a line when it comes to x and y intercepts. So let's see if we can graph this line, this general form of this line, 3x plus 2y is 6, using x and y intercepts. Okay, so what we need to do to find the x and y intercepts, well, to find the x-intercept, you plug in 0 for y, and to find the y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. So let's do that. Let's start with the x-intercept. Don't know why my pen is dragging. It's a little annoying. Let's try that again. Okay, so the x-intercept, we're going to plug in y is equal to 0 into this equation. 3x plus 2y is 6. So we get 3x plus 0 is 6, which tells us 3x is equal to 6, or x is equal to 2. So the x-intercept is 2, 0. So let's put a point at 2, 0. That should be on the line, so 2, 0. Now let's find the y-intercept. So to find the y-intercept, we do the opposite here. We plug in x is equal to 0. So for the y-intercept, we plug in x is equal to 0. So we get 3x plus 2y is 6. So 0 plus 2y is 6, which tells us that y is equal to 3. So our x-intercept is when x is 0. Sorry, our y-intercept is when x is 0 and y is 3. So let's put a point right there at 0, 3. 1, 2, 3, right here. And now let's draw a line through these 2 points. Okay, and this is the line, the graph of the line, this line right here, 3x plus 2y is 6.